Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey.
I am Dan, and today we are taking a break from our normal Star Wars Marvel episodes, and we're going to talk about the new season of Squid Game. This is a show that Joey and I both watched, and if I'm being quite honest, I'm very surprised you watched the show.
I was waiting for
It's not
that.
a show I had you pegged for.
No, I think I kind of just watched the first one without really thinking much about what it was because it was super popular way back when it first came out.
Hmm.
And by the time I realized it's something that it really isn't usually my speed, I was kind of hooked. But
Yeah.
I thought this the first time and I thought it as I was watching Squid Game 2. I'm enjoying this. I can't wait to see where the story goes, but I'm ready for it to be over because it's making me so nervous.
Yes. And before we go any further, this will be a spoiler containing episode of Squid Game 2.
Very much
So if
so.
you have not completed it, I recommend pausing here, finishing it, and then coming back. So, um, I'm assuming everybody who's listening to this does know the premise of Squid Game, what it is. So, I'm just gonna jump right into who the main players are for this season.
Mhm.
Um, so first we have Ji-hoon, and again, I apologize if I'm butchering all of these names because I feel like I am.
We can use the number so we don't have to mess the names up.
Yes.
And
I'll do the main.
say the names of the main cast, and we can lean into the numbers for some of the other ones.
uh, The main character is player 456, Ji-hoon. He is one of the last winners of the Squid Game.
Master Soul.
I think, yes, I think it's been a couple years, at least three, I think.
That seems that's I think that's what my memory is telling me.
And then we have player number one, Young Il, or the frontman, who's also we know is a past winner.
I can't wait to talk about this.
And the brother of our next character, Hwang Jun-ho. They are brothers, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, okay. It's fun. It's so funny because I'm getting these characters from Netflix's website, and that's just not mentioned. And I had to like gaslight myself into thinking like, no, no, no. I know for a fact they're brothers.
No, you
And
are
then we have
correct.
player 333 is Mung Ji. He's the crypto dude who kind of pulled one over on Thanos and his minion. And then we have Daeho, who's player 388, a Marine who I want to talk about in a little bit.
Hmm.
Then we have player 246. He's the dad of the little girl at the amusement
That was
park.
so sad.
Oh yeah, he was the artist. Name the artist. And then probably my favorite player, player 120, Hyunju. Such an interesting character.
Very much so.
Um, I, I'm not exaggerating when I say they might be my favorite.
I think one thing overall is we're to kind of break up the character discussion, the introductions. I thought that the other players in this season were incredibly captivating. And granted, it's been a while since I watched the first season, but I really,
Hmm.
really enjoyed a lot of the characters. And it made me extra worried because I was like, oh God, they're just going to kill all these people. But I'm kind of happy that it seems like we might be going in a little bit of a different direction, at least for the time being.
Hmm.
Like it's not like
Yeah.
I don't quite know exactly what's going to happen next, but I found myself more attached to the characters other than
I
456.
I agree. I think this is definitely more of a group effort, which we will talk about why I think they set it up that way.
Mhm.
We only have a couple more.
Okay.
We have player 007, who is Young Sick, right? And
Yeah.
again, pardon me if I'm butchering these names. He is also a K-pop rapper in real life, or a K-pop idol. I think that's what they're called.
How about that?
Him, 333 was as well.
I knew that one, and then Thanos.
Thanos, and there's another one.
The
One
one,
of,
the pregnant girl.
yes, Junhee 222.
Uh-huh.
And then we have player 149, which is Young Six mother.
She was
Love
awesome.
her. She's so good. And then we have Jung Bae, which is player 390, and that's player 456's friend from back home. Also a Marine, which again is going to come into play in a little bit. And we have player 222, the pregnant player, who by all accounts is pretty close to term
Hmm.
from what we were expecting. Then we have some of the weirder players. Player 44, the shaman.
I didn't care for the shaman.
No. Then we have 125, Min Soo. He's kind of just the scapegoat,
He made
kitty
me
bully.
sad. Like sad for
Yeah,
him, not that he like I he his
yeah,
actions didn't make me sad. The way he was treated and he felt about himself made me sad.
yeah. Then we have player 124, which is Nam Gyu,
I hated
Thanos'
him.
minion. Yeah. And then we have, speaking of Thanos, we have Thanos player 230.
I thought he was a much better villain character than the guy with the longer hair from last season.
Yeah, and he wasn't even really a villain. He was just this drugged out rapper.
And like he wasn't even like I tempted to use the term annoying, but I don't necessarily think he was annoying. Like he wasn't entirely unlikable, which I thought was really
No.
intriguing. He definitely annoyed me, and I didn't love him. But after seeing, and I will say, my wife has become because of him now invested in K-pop and has listened to like his band and the people with him. But the seeing all of the stuff like clips of him after having watched the show, it is pretty funny. Like the stuff that
Yeah.
he was doing. In the moment, I was really nervous about everything. And I think if I were to watch it again, I would find him very entertaining.
Yeah.
Did you know? I did not know this, and I guess we could talk about this at this point. I watched the English version. How did you consume this?
Oh, I watched it subbed. So the way I watched Squid Game 1, I watched it dubbed first because that's what it actually defaulted to
Hmm.
for me. Um, and then after I finished it once, I rewatched it subbed and I liked it a lot better.
Hmm. So I guess
Did
you
you
would.
you watched it?
I watched the dub. Did you notice? I didn't know this until I saw something on, and my wife showed me on like Twitter or something, that he actually Thanos spoke English
Oh
in the
yeah.
like Korean thing, which is really intriguing too. It adds like a whole layer to this character that I totally
Oh,
missed.
it got really weird because it would just kind of float into normal sentences
Hmm.
and it would catch you off guard. You'd be like, "Oh, I can understand that." But yeah, I highly recommend watching it subbed.
Maybe
Because
I'll
I feel
go
like you get
back.
more inflection in the voices and stuff.
I also part of the my wife and I both said that part of the reason that like we think that I can handle it because again this gory stuff isn't always my super favorite and like super dark stuff, but like the the English dub is kind of goofy, like the inflection and like the way that they say things. It's kind of like an anime type thing where they're just like
Yeah.
really exaggerated in what they say. So I think if like I got to hear these actual people's voices and like the terror that they probably have, it would probably make me more nervous.
Yeah, it would.
Well, maybe I don't need to go back. Anyway, we can proceed through the characters. Sorry about that little aside.
Oh, we only have three more. The next player on this list is from Netflix, who they said were the main characters of the show. So forgive me if I'm forgetting any characters. But next is player 380, which is Say Me, See Me. She was relatively new. We didn't see her till later in the show. Like I don't think we saw her till the second game.
I don't think she made me the way that she died made me so sad. And then
Yeah.
the way that that kind of connected to 125 was so sad.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Two more. Then next we have the recruiter is the recruiter. That's all we know them as.
That was crazy. I was not expecting him to be so unhinged.
No, he was nuts.
Uh-huh. And like the
That
he didn't have to. Nothing was forcing him to shoot himself. Like he could have instantly turned it around on Gi-hyun, and like I don't know, his dedication to the game is insane.
yeah, I think if Gi-hoon wouldn't have done it himself on turn 5, I don't think he would have hesitated to.
Hmm.
But because he did it, it would, like you said, ruin the integrity of the game.
Yeah, and I think he kind of got in his head about like the his role in the whole big picture. And I
Hmm.
like that this was kind of our first insight into having someone who worked for slash at the Squid Game. And then kind of like we're seeing that insight and we get a whole lot more of that throughout the show.
Hmm. And then our last character, who's actually not on this list, but is a pretty important character, is Captain Park.
Who's that one?
He is the boat captain.
Oh yeah, that's an important one. Did we talk about the triangle girl who worked as a like a in the pink suit?
No, we did
We
not.
should do her after Captain Park because Captain Park is important.
I will look up her name.
I can share some of my feelings about Captain Park, and I
Go
imagine
right ahead.
Dan had kind of pitched this where we go through the characters and then just kind of have a free form conversation about our thoughts on the show. And one of the things that is most intriguing to me in this season is like the cop storyline and how we really didn't get too much going on there. And
Hmm.
I want more. I'm excited to see more. I guarantee you we're going to get to see more. But adding this wrinkle with Captain Park was so crazy at the end because it was almost like done with like no fanfare or explanation. You don't really follow up on it after. What did you think about that?
Hmm. Yeah, no, that was I think one of the biggest cliffhanger for me of who is he?
Entirely unexpected for me. Like that would mean like so he said that he found um I'm so sorry. What I can't remember his name. The is it Junho?
I think so.
In my defense, I finished this a little while ago. Yeah. Junho. So he says that he found him. I wonder if he is like an employee and the front man, because it's his brother, made him like take him back and then is just leading him astray. Because the I imagine Junho didn't really know where he was going. So he probably took him all
Hmm.
around and told him whatever. Like I feel like the only reason he didn't find the island is because he was being led astray,
I agree.
which is
I
it's
think
crazy.
yeah.
Did you
And it,
want go ahead, sorry.
and it makes sense too now that we had that revelation of like, of course they led them to the island with the booby trap.
Uh-huh.
And of course they knew to look for the tracker on 456.
That it all makes sense because that was one of the things that made me the most like frustrated was that he knew about the track. How did they know about the tracker?
Yeah.
But I think having a man on the inside kind of in the other direction was definitely a contributor to that. I felt like I wanted more from the cop story, like this whole like militia that they were assembling. Like I felt like the season started so strong with feeling like
Hmm.
456 had really like built up this, militia to help take down these terrible games. And I didn't necessarily love how quickly it felt like he had any sort of control or agency over it. But at the same time, it makes
Hmm.
sense with like the resources associated with these people he's trying to take down. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, I was very interested in this and I was hoping to see more, but I think we'll obviously get there. Are you happy with
Oh,
the amount that we
yes.
got, or do you wish there was a little more?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I feel like season 2 and 3 was filmed at the same time and then they kind of just split it.
I have some issues with that, but we'll talk about that
I know.
after.
So to finish it, we'll just finish out the last
Yeah, yeah,
character
yeah. Okay.
real quick. That's soldier number 11, Kang Noel, Noeul. Again, I apologize. So she's actually North Korean who defected to South Korea, leaving her young daughter behind. And she's trying to bring her daughter from the North to the South. That's why she's looking to make money.
Her character was crazy. I totally like they set it up for you to think that she's going to be a player.
Mm-hmm.
And then the like I was like, "Oh, this seems different with like the like storage unit truck that she got into." And I was like, "Oh, it is different because she's an employee."
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool revelation. I enjoyed in the first season seeing more of the VIPs and like seeing that aspect of it. And then seeing this kind of
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes working, I thought was a really interesting concept, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, it was. We finally got to understand more of the hierarchy of the guards and what
Hmm.
each symbol means.
Yeah.
So the circle guards are the game. They deal with the games. They're the staff, the administrators. The squares are the soldiers. No, I apologize. The triangles are the soldiers,
Hmm.
and the squares are the managers. So,
It was really intriguing to see like kind of the interplay between like their actual duties, and I had completely forgotten because like I said, it had been a while since I watched the first season, the like organ harvesting side hustle that they're doing. And I kind of forgot
yeah,
that that was
me
like a
too.
secret. And I think that kind of added that nice little wrinkle where she wanted to actually like she wanted to like she went there to put people out of their misery, not to allow them to have their organs harvested. And I thought that dynamic was
Yeah.
really interesting too.
Hmm.
What else did I want to ask you? Do you think at that so we can kind of we're kind of jumping around here. We're not going very linear necessarily. We're just kind of talking about what we want to talk about. Do you think that she is the one that killed 246, the little girl's dad?
Hmm.
It was a
That was
soldier, right?
yeah. It was a soldier, and it looks like they hesitated, but
I think we're meant to sit here and talk about that right now.
I think so. I think part of me wants to say yes, but I don't know. I don't know if she could.
I agree, and I think that they did an excellent job with 246 of keeping him kind of like at a distance from everything that was happening, but making sure that we knew that he was still there to kind of make you
Hmm.
feel like, oh, well, they're saving him for something. They're saving him for something. And then to have him go out that way, like, could it be something that marks a change in Soldier Number 11 if she wasn't the one to kill him?
Hmm.
Maybe, kind of. I don't know.
It's tough because he's one of those characters that we didn't have to get to know to understand and get attached to. And then the parallels between him and number 11. I mean, they were there for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
They were both there for their daughters. And I think 11 was able to resonate with that. And as we saw in Red Light, Green Light, it really kind of shocked her.
Yeah.
But
I think after really sitting here and talking about it, I would be surprised if she was the one that actually killed him.
I, yeah, it just there.
I feel
I
like
don't
we're
know. I
gonna
feel like
deal
there.
with that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about like the games that we got to see?
Yes. Oh,
I,
and yeah, we'll
go,
talk about the ending at
yeah,
some
no, I
point.
figure we can get to the end, and I can go on about my disdain for the way that streaming shows are structured. Which, if you listen to any of our reviews, you know I pretty much I like a 20 episode season like it's 2006. But nevertheless,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
we saw three games, correct?
Yeah. Three official
Three
games. I
official
mean,
games, and then a
game,
video
game,
game level.
game number, well, and game number two was a combination of street
Yeah,
games.
yeah, 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 yeah. So let's touch on
So
first red light, green light.
red light, green light, the standard. We finally got more information about it and how it works.
Yeah, I always felt like it was kind of like a digital robot that was shooting people, but to find out that there's like actually another human on the end of the gun, it
Hmm.
was like really unsettling to me.
And it makes sense too,
It does.
like, and then it also kind of goes back, ties into season one of like, how would player one have survived? I mean, that's still a big thing.
I have a lot of
And
questions about player one.
which player one?
Oh, new player one, not old player one.
New player, new player one wasn't playing red light, green light.
That is true. But I have a lot of questions about his motivations is more what I
We'll get there.
okay.
But I feel like that's also that the robot is relaying to the command center, relaying to the guards who's eliminated.
Yeah. And I just like having that be like I think a lot of times like going back to Star Wars, like a lot of like the thing is like showing like the good guys kind of have this like organic like one with nature connection to people, and the bad guys kind of have this cold like robotic almost aura. And
Hmm.
having this kind of twists that kind of basic like good evil concept on its head, and really having like people being on either end, it kind of jarred me a little bit in a good way. Like I was not happy to see it, but it was like, oh, that's really captivating. Like all these people are here for a different reason, doing different things.
Yeah.
Very dark view of the world, but very
Oh,
interesting nonetheless.
100%.
I like that they brought us back to a game we were familiar with. And I was wondering how they
Hmm.
were going to deal with having Gi-hyun play and like reveal that he was, you know, had done that before. And I thought it was really
Hmm.
interesting to make him reveal that on the first game.
Yeah.
I thought it was an
I feel like
interesting
he
choice,
had
and I
to.
like that. Yeah, no, because I think
Well, because I feel like, oh, go ahead.
his whole thing was wanting to save people. So it's not surprising that
Yeah.
he immediately ripped the Band-Aid off.
And I don't think he ever expected to play a game.
No, because he had his tooth tracker.
Yep. So as soon as the sky opened up, I'm sure he expected the cavalry to be coming in.
Uh-huh. And that wasn't the case.
But that no, it's not. What did you
Hmm.
think of Thanos during that game?
I did not care for him at first. Like I said, pretty much the whole first watch, I was like, I don't like this guy at all.
Just shoving people.
Seriously, I thought it was a nice unhinged like I like like I said, kind of comparing him to the guy with the longer hair and the neck tattoo from the first season. I like that Thanos was more like unhinged and like just kind of going about his business rather than like being like
Yeah.
legitimately evil. I thought that was an interesting sort of antagonist rather than like a villain.
Hmm.
I know those kind of go hand in hand, but kind of unique. What
Yeah.
did you think? So we finish Red Light Green Light. Another thing that was introduced in this season is the voting. That's kind of a game in itself. What did you think of that?
Voting was voting was in season one.
Well, I guess the voting after every round.
Yes. And then making them wear their vote is also
Yes.
new.
It's like when they would do something special on Survivor, is what it felt like. Like, you ever watched Survivor?
Joey, I love Survivor. I
Okay.
watched that was my show growing up.
So,
Every
it's like
Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
I forget what they would do, but like if it was like a special season and there was something special they were doing, they would like be like they get a certain color bandana or something. I know they have the
Mm,
tribe bandana, but you know what I mean, like a game show where they're doing something special that season.
yeah.
It felt very much like that.
And I think it's interesting too that you bring up the voting, how committed they are to the rules of the game.
Hmm.
Everybody, and how it is a very contract-esque relationship between them, and
Hmm.
how the guards are like, "You're right. You're allowed to vote. Go vote. We're not gonna impede your vote. We don't care what the vote is. If you vote to end it, it ends. Or do you think it would end?
I think it would end. They ended it before.
I think, yeah, I think so too. I think it would end.
One other character that I honestly forgot about him. The old guy, I can't remember what his number was, but the guy that was adamant about continuing to play.
Player 100.
There you go. I couldn't stand that guy because I think he's the epitome of like, yes, all these people were in debt and they had their own sort of challenges. But like, I think he has that lesson the show's trying to show you is like the greed of it. And like, nothing's going to be enough. It's always one more
Yeah.
game. And I think he's honestly, he's more evil than Thanos was. Thanos was just kind of erratic. This guy, like, legitimately is like, who cares? I'm gonna win and leave after the next game every time.
Yeah.
It was sad, like a sad reality of the story they're telling that so many people were committed to continuing to, you know, want to play.
Hmm.
Anything else about the voting
We'll have to come back to the voting, the
for
end,
yeah, I got you. Okay.
special game.
Oh God, yeah. I thought
So
it
that
was
brings us
so
to
cruel
game.
how they phrased that.
Yeah. So that brings us to game number two, which was the medley, the
Hmm.
teams of five, and there were five individual games. I can't pronounce it. Tijaki, where they throw the paper, the game that the recruiter played with them. Um, then there was the stone toss.
Hmm.
Then there was Gonji,
Oh, that looked fun. I wanted to get that.
and then there was the spinning top, and then there was like the hacky sack.
Hmm. I thought this was so inventive. I was happy that it wasn't just the same exact thing because
Hmm.
I thought that this was very interesting to see them all have to kind of adapt. And like each
Yeah.
person, I think they did a great job with it. This is the moment when I realized like, crap, there are so many characters here. This is gonna hurt when they start to kill them. And because
Yeah.
they really gave each character, regardless of the team that they were on, they set up our characters here to have those moments of intense like stress and then victory with mastering
Hmm.
their own game. They did a lot. This
Yeah.
was
I mean,
also, go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was also going to say this is one of the games where I think they really committed to like they just had so much blood on the ground all the time after this point, and I felt like it was a very stark to me. Like they're like just rolling around in all this blood. It's so gross.
And this is one of those games where they wanted to call the herd
Hmm.
very quickly. And this was one to do it. You can, God, this is gonna sound bad, knock off five at a time.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting. Now I have a question. If you had to play one of those
Oh
games
God.
where you think of the five that you think you could win without having played it before, which one would it be?
I feel like my only chance is the stone toss, and I don't even think I'd be particularly good at that one.
Really?
What do you think?
Hacky sack.
I'm not a hacky sacker. I did not play
I
soccer.
could
I
prob
got no coordination.
I could probably get five. I feel confident myself.
Maybe we could do that as our next episode. We would both not survive.
No,
I do want to
can't do the
try
top.
the top looked miserable.
Yes.
And I think the top is
You can
actually go ahead.
never mind. I was gonna say you can buy the Gunji kits online.
I want to I want to learn that. It sounds fun. But I
Get
think we could
I saw
use
people online saying get the real ones.
the real ones.
Like an actual thing and not the Squid Game branded one.
Oh, of course they have a Squid. Why did I even think that? I thought there wouldn't be a Squid Game branded one. Oh well. Um, this is the top though is a great opportunity to talk about player one and like his motivation
Hmm.
for the front man slash player one and his motivation for coming in. What do you think it is?
His motivation?
Yeah,
I think he wanted to figure out why Ji-hoon came back.
definitely.
Like
And I don't think
like
his
he
car conversation did that for him.
no, because he knows that he wants to take the game down. But why would he voluntarily come back in?
Do you think he didn't expect his motivation to truly be so like maybe altruistic is the right word? Like, do you think he was
I don't know.
surprised when he found out that he legitimately just wants to prevent more people from having to go through this?
Yes and no. Because he's a former winner himself, I think there's a chance he also felt the same way.
Mhm.
And then I saw a theory online that he actually was there to went down to try and recruit him to be the next front man.
I saw that, and I saw that we can kind of talk about that at the end too, that that's something that he might try to do in season three.
Mm,
I don't like that, but I could see that happening with the way that this show goes. But there were a few instances though where like they were the last, like 456 one and all of them, that team was the last one,
hmm.
right? I think that was a
Yes.
situation where if they failed, everyone but the front man would have been killed.
Oh, of course. That's why they went last.
Definitely. And then that kind of brought me to, though, how would they have worked that in the carousel game? Because we can kind of jump on now, I think, to the carousel game with the rooms.
Mingle is what it was called.
Mingle, there you go. Sorry.
It's okay. It depends how. Um, it really depends how he would have got eliminated, I think.
I guess yeah, because all the other players are in a room.
Right.
They wouldn't see him.
And the only way they would see him is if they had the incorrect number.
Hmm.
But if even if they did that, they would just shoot the other players.
Yeah. Huh. You know, that thinking that through after all this time of, having watched it, it makes sense. These games kind of make sense. I did think that Mingle was such a stressful watch. I enjoyed, I love hated watching it.
Hmm. And then if you take a step back and think about how long that game actually took
Hmm.
for the people playing, because you'd have to sit in there after they killed everybody, then everybody would have to get removed and cleaned up.
Ugh, it's so grim. And this is another one where the blood was just like everywhere. Ugh,
Everywhere
it's
except the carousel.
true,
That was cleaned.
man. I thought it was intriguing. Just a lot of the
Um,
stuff with the way the front man interacted in this game in particular was really, it was like him having to kill the other guy or choosing to kill that other guy. I thought it was just really
hmm.
interesting, and you learned a lot about, without them having to say it, you learned a lot about the front man and his perspective in this game.
Yeah.
I really,
Do you think he enjoys play?
sorry, go ahead.
Do you think he enjoys playing?
I
Like we know player one in season one played the games because he actively enjoyed the games. I mean, he picked the games.
see. I don't think that the front man enjoys playing games, like or playing the Squid Game. I think he
Yeah.
like. I feel like this is purely a business endeavor, but I think
Hmm.
I, there were just a few things that continuously confused me. With like, it seemed he did it. He went above and beyond what I think someone in his position had to do a few
Hmm.
times. And I just, again, it like, what is the end goal? And we'll get there with, the last episode. But
I mean, I think he really honestly came down to prevent Jihoon from spreading too much information about it.
did he do that though?
If he could, yeah, they formed their little alliance and he kept them separated. That little group of five really
Yeah, they
kind
did
of went
kind of
off on their
isolate.
own.
Huh. Interesting. This is this is, it's like an onion. It has layers, Squid Game.
Oh, yeah, no.
Um, that's kind of it for the games. Do you
Did you think the old, what
absolutely?
did you think when mother son got separated?
Oh, I thought they were gonna kill her, and I thought it was gonna make me
So,
cry.
so, so did I.
Oh, I thought she was done for. This is a
Hmm.
great opportunity to talk about that dynamic. I thought she was so incredibly likable the whole time, and I
Hmm.
thought her son was moderately to incredibly unlikable throughout.
Yeah.
He just consistently made several decisions where I was like, "Oh, come on, dude."
I mean,
Like when
that's
he
why he ended
voted
up there in the
against
first
them.
place.
It's true. But then like I think again, just like we were talking about with Player 100, like some people don't see the like I think everyone who voted red and stayed that way saw that like there's more to life than this and they can figure things out.
Hmm.
But the people who didn't, I think the greed kind of took over and that's kind of the like I said the lesson, the big takeaway lesson from Squid Game. We can kind of
Oh,
roll. Go ahead.
no, I'm gonna bring back to that later.
I didn't say I think we can kind of roll into this the last voting, the special game, and then what would be an absolutely incredible video game level to play. The Uncharted style shootout is what I called it.
So, you know, there was a Squid Game Call of Duty event, right?
I did not.
Oh yeah.
Hang on, I'm Googling that.
They had, it was called like Squid Game Mosh Pit, like Pentathlon or something, where they'd have different games within like the Call of Duty game mode.
Wow.
So they had like a red light, green light. They had, yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Did you play it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Huh. How about that? Um, anyway, I think this can be a good opportunity for us to talk about some of the other characters. We kind of skipped out on Crypto Bro and the pregnant lady and all of that.
They're kind of just there.
Yeah, I know, and I think they might have more for us to talk about next season. But I
Hmm.
think here we can talk about, and I'm going to pull up our character list here so I don't mess anything up. I think this is where we can really talk about Daeho 388, where we can talk about 120, Hyunju. I think this is where they kind of had their. I think we should let you talk about 120 because I think that that is a standout character.
Before we go any further, I just want to put out there that the Republic of Korea does have mandatory conscription,
Huh.
which is why all of these players were able to handle weapons and capable in hand-to-hand combat. They were all in the military at some point in their lives.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that.
That's why they all were able to handle the guns effectively. They all were able to stealthily make their way across the room. I don't know if you noticed that.
Uh-huh.
They all were crouched in the same way.
There is one person though, and we can come back to 120, but there was one person who didn't quite seem so competent, and that would be 388. I've seen a few
The
theories.
Marine.
Yeah, I guess we can say they had the last voting. They, were divided into their camps, and
Hmm.
Hyun knew that they were gonna, give them the forks and knives or the forks at dinner, and essentially
Yeah.
incite them to fight. That then breaks into Gi-hyun and his crew trying to take the fight to
Hmm.
the front man, which
Control.
he,
Yeah.
to go up there and try and, take control. But in that context, that's where we can get to 388. Enlighten us, Dan, about 388.
So I think while 388 was in the Marines, I think he was like a cook or something along those lines.
That is where I like a non-combat based role is where my brain initially went. And then I saw something on I wish I could remember the to give credit, but something on Reddit where it was like that look that he gets when he's going back to get more ammo and he just kind of has that like blank look on his face. Some people think that he's like a plant. Like I've seen a few people suggest that there might be VIPs who paid to be a part of the actual games as well. And
Hmm.
I don't know if I necessarily like that idea, but I think it does seem in his last action that there was some sort of malicious intent. Do you feel that
I
way?
disagree.
You think it was just
I don't.
paralyzation of fear?
I think there were enough signs. The first one for me is when they were on the steps and got ambushed for the first time. Of the seven people, six of them took cover and started returning fire. 388 dropped his gun and covered his ears.
Yeah. Definitely
And
screams
then
someone who's not seen combat or was trained to
and
even
then
see combat.
when they were in the standoff across the windows, everybody else would pop out, take a couple shots, and come back in. Where
He
he
was
was
like
blind firing over the wall, fully automatic, after they specifically said, "Don't do that."
like 7 times they said don't do that, and he was still doing it.
Yeah.
I definitely think we have more to see from him. And then I think we could go ahead and give our moment to 120. I think she was fantastic character. I did think it was interesting that the
Yes.
did you know that the actor, like, they actually don't have a transgender person playing this role? It's actually a male actor because there aren't many openly transgender
Hmm.
actor or actresses in Korea. But I thought this actor did a great job. I thought they did a great job at handling the nuance of the role and made the character so likable.
Yeah. While being transgender was such a huge part of their identity, it often wasn't the forefront. They were
Hmm.
just uni.
Yep.
That's who they were. They were 120. They were very humanized.
It's such a excellent use of the character, and then like I just think the motivation and everything. Like
Hmm.
I just thought it was very well done, and then the combat scenes were awesome.
You can tell she she didn't want to leave her job. The
Hmm.
way she talked about it.
Uh-huh. And it seemed like she
She
was
said,
particularly good at it too.
"Oh yeah, she was special forces." She said.
Hmm.
So she wasn't only good, she was the best of the best.
Hmm. But yeah,
But
it's again speaks to like the tragedy of all the characters in here. Like this was one that kind of stood out as being particularly tragic because it was like it wasn't like she was in debt. She's just trying to live her life.
hmm
Does that kind of take us to the end and where we kind of leave off with that fight where they get darn close to the actual control room. Particularly,
yes.
I want to keep saying Master Soul, but 456 and
You could say
what
Master Soul. He's very Master Soul-esque in this episode.
Master Soul 456 and Jung Bae 390, they get, to um they kind of run out of ammo on the steps up to the main room. And then who does the front man take with him? I can't remember.
He just took two volunteers
And then he shot them. And then
in the back.
he quick gets real dressed. And he kind of, I thought it was particularly evil that he kind of made it seem to Gi-hyun that he was dead. Like he made it seem like he's the one that got shot. So I think
Hmm.
in his mind, there's
Yeah.
no way. Like I think that's going to come back in action for him to realize who he is. But
Oh. Yeah, because all the masks have voice changers,
mhm.
which is I don't know if I realized that.
It's like Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Um,
It's much boring. Much more boring.
very basic. But anyway, um, as punishment, the front man, at least at the beginning of his punishment, the front man kills 390 right in front of Gi-hyun. And between that, Captain Park killing the one of the militia people, we
The
kind of
drone
end.
operator of all people.
Yeah, the drone operator. We kind of end on this dour note or sour, sad note that leaves it kind of like a end of Empire Strikes Back sadness sort of situation.
Yeah.
Before we talk about what might be coming next, may I go on my usual rant about the
Go
format
right
of
ahead.
I I'm going to keep it brief if you listen to us talk about any of our stuff before, but I was frustrated by the end of the season. When we got to like how many episodes were there? Six? Eight?
Seven.
Seven. By
Seven.
the time we got to like the fifth episode, my wife was like, "We're not seeing all these games." I was like, "I think you might be right, but I don't understand." And the thing that frustrates me as a person sitting here watching it now, it's like this was not necessarily a complete story. Like I don't think you could watch this season alone and have it feel satisfying. And that's okay at the end of the day because in what did they say? In within the year, or if when you ever
Yeah.
rewatch this, you're going to sit down and you're going to just keep watching it, and that's totally fine. But as consuming the season individually, I was like, oh my God, I want more. It felt like half a season to me. I loved it. I thought it was really, really
It,
strong, but it did feel like half
yeah,
a
it
season.
is a half a season.
And that's okay. I kind of wish, though, that going into it, they had said, like, this is part season two, part one, season two, part one, and season two, part two.
Okay.
But that's a very, very minor thing because what we got was great. I'm sure what we're going to get in three
Mhm.
is going to be great. So I don't want to spend too much time complaining, but
Speaking of three, um, actually one more thing. One about the uprising.
mhm.
Did you notice every single person was from the X group?
No, interesting.
But that also makes sense. Why would the O people want to do it?
Yeah,
They
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 want to
want
keep
to
playing.
stay,
Uh-huh.
and they don't care if those other people get killed. More money
Yeah.
for them.
Which kind of leads us into the post-credit scene and what we might see in three, I think is kind of the direction you're headed, right?
Hmm.
Did you see the post-credit scene?
I think it was the boy animatronic,
Yes.
right?
We missed it at first, my wife and I, but she saw it on like Facebook or something, and then we went back and
Hmm.
watched it. But I think this implies to us that we're gonna get the rest of the games.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's going to be any
Do,
sort of punishment?
mm, no, I don't. I think the punishment was being killed.
Yeah.
So, do you think that they'll kill 120?
Maybe, I don't
Assuming
know.
she gives herself up.
I
Assuming she gives herself up.
part of me wants to say no because like they still need people because we haven't seen the VIPs yet, which is something that I hope we see in season three. But they didn't arrive
Hmm.
until later in the first season, so I think they're going to need people there, and maybe they could use the story like that one tried to get out and make the VIPs
Hmm.
more attached or something.
And she also didn't break the rules in the sense that she was back in the room when it was bedtime.
Hmm.
When they said players have to return to their quarters or they'll be eliminated.
Yeah.
She was in the quarters.
I it's interesting.
So do you think they'll still vote?
Probably, I don't. It's kind of their thing. This version, I feel like they may still vote, and I think their numbers are clearly a little shaken up. But you got to wonder if the the circles will be more in favor here.
Yeah.
Um, what I guess, unless there's anything else you want to add, what do you think will happen with Gihyun?
I think they're going to make him play the games. That's his punishment.
Ha,
He
I,
because they know he's not afraid of death, that he
I
doesn't care about dying. But I think they know he does not want to play those games.
do you think that there's any credence to the theory that the front man wants him to be the new front man?
Yes. Did you see when they were talking about the sacrifice? The front man kind of tipped his cap a little bit and started to smirk when Giyun said about sometimes you need to sacrifice some for the greater good.
Hmm.
And the front man's like, "Oh, really?"
I, I think this honestly leaves me. Normally we have with our Star Wars stuff, we have a long list of predictions and stuff. But I honestly feel like they left it in a spot where it can go so many different directions that it's not like they didn't really leave breadcrumbs. They just kind of said, "We're giving you more. Buckle
Yeah.
up."
And so, how many more games do you think we have? Two or three? Probably three.
There's six, right? In the first season.
I think so.
I feel like I feel like three if we did three this season, three next season, maybe.
Hmm.
I would hope that there's going to be some sort of connection to like the brother and like the offshore stuff. Like, hopefully they make it there and potentially
I
disrupt the
think they will.
games.
Hmm.
Hopefully they get there with enough force to be able to actually do something. But I don't know.
There's a lot of people there.
There are a lot of people there, even with the fight.
Yeah.
Well, I really I did thoroughly enjoy this. So like I said, I wanted it to be over because it made me really nervous, but I thought it was really, really good, and
You're
what we got was great.
I agree. And I think you're going to be in for a great season three.
It's probably gonna make me sad.
I'll say if two made you nervous, three is gonna, because you
Yeah.
know one only at least one person's making it out.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't want to think about it. We'll deal with that in the 2025, right?
Yeah, it's coming out this year.
So we'll deal with that at some point this year and we'll report back. I'll probably need a box of Kleenex for that one.
Is there any game you think we're gonna see?
I don't necessarily have a prediction on a specific game, but I think that they're gonna probably advance into something more grandiose with a little more spectacle for the VIPs. I think we're definitely going to see
Th
VIPs would be a prediction that I have, and I think they're going to do something to cater towards the theatrics, like that giant glass skywalk one.
that was terrible.
Yes, and I think there's going to be something like that
A way to eliminate.
in with spectacle
Yeah,
or the tug of war. Like those all kind of had the. I don't want to think that the last game is going to be Squid Game because like that would mean there are only two left.
but I think that's how it's always set up.
The season's different. That's the whole point. Here, I'll leave
Well,
us
they.
with this, my prediction, and then you can leave yours, and then we can wrap up. I think that they're going to be disrupted by the brother or something, and we're
Hmm.
only going to see 5 games. That's my prediction.
That's fair. That's a good prediction.
What's your
However, I
prediction?
will let you know that after 5 games, there's only two people left.
I don't. I maybe we don't finish the 5th game.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I I'm not sure what if the brother gets there, especially with Captain Park being
My question to
the
that then
the
would be,
the
what's the point
turncoat.
of that then? What's the point?
I don't know. Do you, because remember, there's the second boat. Is the second captain on the payroll, or is he just thinking, "Yeah, I got paid to do this," and
It's a good question. One that we will probably find out.
yes. But
Eh,
my quick prediction is that Giyun is going to be forced to play the games as his punishment.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would make sense. And I think seeing the dynamic, because he was the one that led this whole failed mutiny, I think the dynamic between him and the rest of the players will be interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, anything else to add about Squid Game 2?
No, it was great.
I thought so too.
The
I
music.
enjoyed it a lot.
Que Last question. In Mingle, was the song in English or Korean?
Oh, Korean.
The do 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 do. Okay,
Korean.
thank God.
Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah, no, I that was not in English.
Thank goodness. That would have been even creepier.
Now, do you know what it's supposed to say?
I do.
All right, we don't need to talk about that. Preserve my thoughts.
It's like Ring Around the Rosie.
Oh God, that's so creepy. Anyway, overall, we both clearly enjoyed Squid Game 2 and would love to hear your thoughts about it. So if you enjoyed it, please feel free to let us know. Do you have anything to add, Dan? Sorry, I kind of just rolled into the outro.
No,
All right.
it's
Well,
okay.
thank you so much for listening. Seriously, we appreciate you listening. Please consider giving us a subscription or follow on the podcast platform of choice or on YouTube. Leave us a comment or review, whatever you can. Please consider giving our Twitter or X a follow at Blue Shadow Pod or give us a follow on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. And with that, we thank you so much again, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.